2 p.m. In attendance, we have Guy Tanza, Mark Bills, Gwen Tanza, Stan Noga, Bruce Mello, Don Maggio. On Zoom, we have David Jones and Marjorie Ray, our DB Fiber representative. Hi, Marjorie, thanks for joining us tonight. Right now, we'll take a look at the agenda and see if there are any changes that anyone would like to make or add or delete at this time. One of the things I didn't put in the emails and I'll bring up during my select board meeting section is Wyndham Regional Commission project management needs. So I'll talk about that later on during reports.
Dot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there was just one thing that I thought maybe we could change on on page 2 under number 8 reports E. The last one, ETBD, maybe we could just make that other select board reporting needs comments.
Other select board?
Yeah, rather than selectmen, because we don't really use that in the state of Vermont.
Okay, thank you. All right. None? Okay, hearing that no changes, we will move on to review and approve the minutes from the October 20th regular meeting. So we're gonna go, all right, page 1, any changes on page 1? No? Let's take a look at page 2, any changes on page 2?
I have a question on the second paragraph.
Second paragraph, page 2.
It says a large deficit in Fund 2, but neither in a deficit condition. Is it a deficit or not a deficit?
Fund 2, there is money in the highway fund, although the annual, from what I understand, David, correct me, because but when you did the pay, you went into a deficit for that year, but there was a surplus that had built up.
I think what Samara meant when she said that, I did actually watch the full meeting, and I think what she meant was essentially that we're allowed to carry a deficit in Fund 2 from year to year in the highway fund. So it's, I think essentially what she meant is we did finish that fiscal year with a deficit for the year, but it's not actually a concern in that fund. And in fact, it's something we do pretty much every time we pave. We end up working that way because we only budget $30,000 a year for paving. So if you think about it, anytime we do paving, we end up being, for that budgeted season, we would be, you know, $60,000 to $100,000 over budget for that year. But that's just the way that's the way it's always been. So
That's called cash accrual.
All right, very good. Anything else? Good question, Gwen. Anything else on page 2? Page 3? On page 3, right above F, music of the Brookline Meeting House, where it says, excuse me, I should say it differently. Item E, which was tabled till the end of the meeting. It wasn't tabled for another meeting, but it was tabled until the end of the meeting on the 20th. Any questions or changes to page 4 of the minutes? Any questions? Page 5 of the minutes.
Under workshop on
sorry.
workshop under public space. It says some Miss Maggio noted $4,000 in available grants. Something doesn't read right.
Right, there were 6 grants, each valued at $4,000.
Okay.
Under ARPA, and I'll go to you.
Yeah, okay.
Under ARPA, it has, there was discussion about ADA compliance and an underground tank at SLP. It should be, there was discussion about ADA compliance and an underground metal septic tank at the Brookline Meeting House,
Yes.
BMH.
Yes.
Okay. And also under FEMA, it says, under FEMA, it says, second sentence, Ms. Maggio asked about the billing except for paving on Putney. Mr. Bills explained that almost all funding was completed. It should say almost all of the storm repairs has been completed. Okay. And, Bruce?
Can I see the picture? Yeah. Oh, it's page 6, okay, it'll be page 6, I have one more.
Anything else on page 5?
Dot, can I
Please.
just, sorry,
Yes, sir.
can I just interject for a second? Just said, I tried messaging them through chat, but the folks from Fact TV, I think you need to mute yourself because that's kind of bouncing in and out. So if the folks from Fact TV or Dot, if you can mute them, thanks.
All right, thank you. I was wondering where the noise was from, but that's,
And then,
all right, anything else on page 5? Page 6, Bruce?
can I see that for a second? Mr. Nogan noted a hole in need of attention in the town office and asked for a digital copy of the Susie's Little Peanuts release. It sounds like everything's on the Susie's Little Peanuts.
I don't know what you just.
That's what it says. Sentence says, Mr. Noga noted a hole in need of attention, semicolon, and asked for a digital copy of the SLP lease. It sounded like it was all in the SLP, but it should be Mr. Noga noted a hole in need of attention in the town office and asked for a digital copy of the
And
SLP.
ask for a digital copy.
So that's a little confusing.
I guess we were referring to the mouse hole,
Yes.
the mouse hole, which is.
In that corner.
This,
Over that
corner. Corner, no.
oh, in this
No,
corner,
over there.
okay,
Originally, there was one here.
That's the one that's hanging dead down there.
okay.
Gwen didn't take it out yet.
All right,
Dinner's been getting a little.
I have under recent and planned projects that we would be adding a RFP for paving, which we'll discuss later on page 6. Page 7. I'm gonna note that under accounts payable warrant in discussion, Mr. Nova questioned an item you questioned an item that actually is written as $9,562.50. And somehow Peter got $95,042 out of that. So Peter, when you do your correction under accounts payable warrant, he's gonna watch the video. The amount that Mr. Nova questioned was $9,562.50. Any other changes for this agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, as approved, as edited for the October 20th meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and David abstained, and then
Yeah.
abstained, David's gonna
Yeah,
abstain. He wasn't
one
at the meeting.
abstention.
Yeah. But thank you very much. Okay. All right, what we have in our presence, our appointee for DV, Deerfield Valley Fiber, Marjorie Ray, and her beautiful little dog. Where'd the dog go? Marjorie, you can certainly unmute yourself, and as a member of the public, we'd love to hear what's going on. I know you had sent out some, the annual report we received for the draft for October 20th, and we know that DV Fiber was awarded over $4 million in a broadband grant. So we'd love to hear what's going on.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been going to the monthly meetings and I'm also on the communications committee. We did just receive a $4.1 million grant, and that is to start the engineering and design for the high-speed fiber optic network. And it will, first we will be doing the engineering and preparation of utility poles for the phase 1 towns, which are Halifax, Marlborough, Reedsboro, Stamford, Wardsboro, and Whitingham. So Brookline won't be, we're a phase 2 town. And I think that's towards the end of, probably beginning of 2023 before we, start seeing some service in our area. But I think it's like a $20 million grant that we're applying for next. So it's a great group of hardworking people, trying to bring internet to places that don't have, and so that everybody can have high speed internet. So
that's what they refer to as 100 megabyte upload and 100 megabyte download. That's what high speed is.
I'm not an expert, but yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So I'm learning, but yeah. So that, 3 or 4 people can be on in one house and have fast internet, so if you have, and also I wanted to, let you know that we have a new resident in Brookline, Donald Demain, that is interested in becoming an alternate for the group. So there's a form that Dot has. He's come to a meeting. He's spoken with Jane in Newfane quite a bit about getting on board. And so that's something that I guess Brookline, has to decide if we are going to have an alternate or want an alternate. So we have someone that is willing. So
I've emailed Daniel, and I hope to talk to him in the next few days and get him on the agenda for the appointment for our next meeting, which is on November 17th. So I'll talk to him on the phone and see.
Did I say Daniel? It's Donald. I think it's Donald.
Donald, yes,
Okay.
Donald Demain, yes.
Donald Demain. Great. Okay, so you'll be doing that for the next meeting?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. So I also understand, it was one of the meetings, one of the workshops that I've gone to was about ARPA, and they said that ARPA is, supporting the DV fiber CUDs and others in the state, and that they were very happy that Brookline joined, and that it will be supported through some ARPA funding as well. So good.
Nice. Thank you.
All right, well, again, thank you so much for representing the town, and anytime that you'd like to join us at a select board meeting, just pop on over or through Zoom. On our website, we always have the agendas with all the Zoom information on it there if you ever want to come. All right, you're welcome to stay for the meeting this evening.
I'm probably gonna leave, but I've got the dog here. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Marjorie.
Yes. All right. So next we're gonna go and just review the job description and old business. Review job description, discussion of job description for the road supervisor. So thank you for everybody who spent time on printing out and editing and modifying the job description. How's the best way to go about this? I thought it read very well.
If you wake up tomorrow morning, just have a hot shot.
So
Good.
Do you need a job description?
It says, thank you.
So I guess, David, you went through and did a lot of the quick picks, and I thought that was changing the word foreman to supervisor throughout the article.
David had done an initial one, and then I went through and did a more detailed one, and I have no idea whether anybody's looked at that since or modified it since.
Is how would it says, as of October.
I made a copy of the modified one. It had both David's and my alterations. And
Does yours have blue on it as well?
there's blue and red and then yellow.
Yes, I have blue, red, and yellow.
That's the one.
Okay. This is the one that you want to paste. Under, I guess we could just go by paragraph, just form here. We're gonna take a look at the first one, which is the job summary. I saw no need to do any changes other than those that were suggested. Anybody else have?
But I have a copy, is there, do you have an extra copy?
I don't have an extra, but I can make a copy. Give me 2 extra copies. If you want one.
I would take one and
All right, 3.
All right, we're gonna make some extra copies.
They just,
Three copies.
okay. I thought I had one on my desk. I use my tablet a lot, and I can't print.
While Guy is making the extra copies, Stan did a summary of VLTC seminar from October 7th that he shared about summary of the comments. And again, a job description is a living document. An annual review should be part of our annual responsibilities. Keeping track of hours and paid leaves. I don't think we would be getting any additional human resource software, but there, Stan did give us some contacts for that as well. So thank you, this is a
So I guess one of the, some of the pertinent questions would be,
Anyone else? I'm sorry.
after David and I had worked on it, has David gone back and reworked it, or has anyone else reworked it?
I saw a couple of things I'm gonna point out that I made some notes on. But,
I haven't made any further. I liked your consolidation of your tweaks and my tweaks. I thought that all looked good. So I have no further suggestions.
All right, so the first part was the job summary. Again, I felt fine with that. Anybody else have any questions about the summary? Level of responsibility, I also thought was pretty straightforward. Under major duties, I would like us to consider somewhere putting in there that an inventory should be kept up to date, including things such as culvert maintenance schedules and photos of before and after photos of all road work that's being done, which we do for FEMA, but just to have it on record for if we ever have someone comes in and does an auditing. So I would like to see the major duties include maintaining a current inventory of materials on hand, as well as a maintenance schedule and photos before and after for all projects completed. What do you all think about that?
Now, would that be maintenance schedule? Is that for the town roads? Or because I think the equipment
Maintenance.
is named up above in one of the.
Okay,
bullets.
no, I was thinking more like culvert maintenance schedules and
Okay.
things of that duty. It's come up a couple of times where I've been reading that they want to see the And I checked with Mark, and he does do it, but we might as well make sure that it's part of the plan.
Mike, I think we discussed this last time, but I don't notice, maybe somebody really knows where it is that he was gonna start checking the dumpster area, you know, where we do the recycle bins, that he was gonna take responsibility for monitoring that when it's full, when it needs to be called on, and for cleanup if it gets really,
I don't remember talking about that in the meeting.
I think we did somewhere because somebody
we
said it
talked
wasn't
about
the
it.
town clerk's responsibility to do that.
We can add it in, but I don't think we talked about it in a meeting.
I don't
we
think,
talked
I
about it.
think we, yeah, I can't remember when we discussed it.
It's on the road.
So I'm wondering if that might go under the fourth bullet from the top under major duties, where it says performs administrative requirements, including but not limited to timesheets, daily work logs, vehicle logs, maintenance schedule, materials, et cetera. Does that seem to make
Yes,
sense?
yes. And maintenance schedules. Do we wanna shift the responsibility of the recycling containers to the road supervisor's position from the town clerk?
Well, I guess you need to ask the town clerk if he's.
Yeah, I mean,
willing to-
you know, if that's something that he can do, it certainly would take some, you know, pressure off me, but it's basically monitoring it and calling for when the recycling bin has to be picked up. You know, you call Triple T Trucking a day, give them 1 day notice and they come and take it.
Is Dan involved with that at all?
I'm sorry,
Dan Towler?
No.
no, he's, no, I don't
I
think.
noticed there's new
he's-
signs up in front of the.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if
think-
you did that or he did that.
No, someone
Somebody
else
else
did.
did that, we don't know.
But I guess what Gwen is saying is that probably the dumpster area or so forth should be part of highway maintenance or something else. You know, I've been doing it for all these years, but between that and some of the other things I have to do, it's a little overwhelming. And I think also Mark would be able, in the event that we have an overage or people throw stuff out and everything else, we have budgeted $500 a year for someone to pick that up. So we could either have Mark pick it up and, you know, be part of his jobs, or, you know, get a separate vendor for it. I don't know how you wanna do that. Because basically what I do now is I monitor it every day when I go by. I see if it has to be picked up, and it's usually on a 4 to 5 day rotation. And the biggest problem is weekends, because if you miss Friday, they don't come until Monday. And, you know, you have a severe overage problem where stuff is all over. But I've been able to, luckily, be able to get, you know, in the proper rotation. But it just has, you have to look at it every day and anticipate, you know, what the needs are.
And I think the reason we brought it up is because it's really not a town clerk responsibility. And maybe the next town clerk wasn't not gonna even want to look at that place. And because it's a town maintenance thing, that's why we thought it should be under maintenance.
Do you still do the little triangle down?
Right, that's the other
Is
thing,
that
I've
another
been
thing that
taking
we
care of
could,
that.
if Mark is willing to shift?
Well, again, yeah, I guess you have to determine what the responsibilities are of the highway department. You know, I've been doing that again for a couple of years. And, you know, it's, by the same token, we don't have a piece of equipment. I
He
have
doesn't
to,
have a lawnmower.
you know, load my lawnmower into the truck and go down there and do what we have to do. So I guess it would be up to the select board to determine who should do that,
That's what we're doing tonight.
yeah.
Right.
We're looking.
And you know, I don't know how Mark feels about it, but you don't have a lawnmower in the shed, do you?
No, I don't have one yet, but yeah,
I'm sure we could probably purchase something along
it's
those
not out
lines.
of the question.
Is there 3 where is it that people need mowing at the Grassy Brook Hill Road base by
Yeah,
Cynthia
yeah,
Nels,
that's the only
That's
place.
the only place he mows.
Where the bulletin board is.
where the bulletin board is. We could also add it to, or we could add it to the Why Not Work project.
Well, you know, he's gonna have to unload his equipment and do everything to be there. And it might be a little more pricey than it's worth, whereas if we have someone that we're paying.
When Guy does it, he takes 20 minutes, but the problem with us is he has to load it into the back of, his truck and I have to go with him because he needs help getting the lawnmower out of the truck.
But anyway, so, if Mark could do that, I think it would save the town, a little money, because if we hire a vendor, you have to understand, they have to stop, they have to flag people out and everything else, because it's a dangerous situation. I kind of wing it, Gwen keeps an eye out, and if something happens, you can duck. Or do something, you've done it before, Stan,
Yeah.
you just have to be careful there.
Right. Yeah.
But it is a dangerous intersection, no doubt about it.
How does that sound to you, Mark? I mean, what do you?
Yeah,
With the mower or weed whacker.
We're trying to get them 30 hours, how many hours a week, 30 hours a week,
30.
so.
yeah.
It's only what,
I've got two
Once a month,
two
maybe?
lawnmowers that,
I'm sure we can put an ad out too for people.
and it just needs a minor repair with the drawstring. I pulled it too hard and I got the edge. I just gotta go in there and loosen it and put a new string on it. And it doesn't have much use on it. I'd be willing to donate it to the town if that would help.
Right.
yeah, that sounds
Okay,
good.
well, so I guess what we're seeing here is on page 2 at, which follows the major duties, right, for qualifications, add 2 items. Maintain triangle, grass at triangle, maintain
And the recycler,
grass at the triangle, at Hill Road and Grassy Brook Road. And,
Would
observe,
that be under perform any other such other work or before that? What are you adding it to?
I was just putting at the very bottom
Oh,
of
yeah,
that section, but
Yeah,
where do you think might fit better?
That
Oh,
sounds
that's
fine
fine.
with me.
Okay, and then the last would be, to check on recycling.
we check recycling bin and make the call
Recycle
for
pickup.
recycling pickup.
Recycling bin area. And
I'll give you the
Can we just, sorry, before we add that, can we have a discussion about this?
Yeah, I would
So-
ask everything. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, I'll say that if, as long as Mark is agreeable to it, the maintaining the grass mowing in the couple of areas and perhaps even dealing with, helping deal with trash dumping that might happen at the recycling bins. I can see the logic in that possibly being something that he does, but I can't see the logic in Mark being the one who's responsible for calling Triple T to set up the swapping of the dumpsters. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I don't know why the town clerk wouldn't continue to do that. I mean, I understand it may not be something that's typically, that's a normal thing for a town clerk to do, although it's not a normal thing for a road supervisor to do either.
Well, then
We
I
have
think
a
you need someone that will do it.
Well, but I guess I'm sorry, I'm just confused because this is unless I'm mistaken, this is the first time this has been brought up. I certainly don't remember it being brought up previously of us shifting the responsibility for calling the vendor to get bins swapped out and gauging when they should be swapped out to the road supervisor. If that's what we want to do, then okay, I just think it needs a little bit more thought and discussion than this, personally.
Are you
How do
concerned
other
about,
people feel? I mean, does everybody else think this makes sense to do that, to make that change?
I'm looking at it for, in terms of two things, simplicity for the person's doing it. And B, if there's a need for a control mechanism, where one person acknowledges that something needs to be done, and for whatever reason, there's a need to have a town employee, town clerk, elected official notify the recycling people that they need to be picked up. I'm having,
One person do it.
I don't know which way to go. I don't know if it makes any difference to anybody. Frankly, it doesn't make any difference to me. If the person doing it is the person that makes the call, it saves that person having to make one more phone call somewhere else, tell that person to do something that he could do in that one phone call that he's making. So I don't know if it's productive, counterproductive, slows things down, adds an administrative level that may or may not be necessary. I guess I'm just throwing things out on the table. I haven't got an opinion about it, but you're right, it's the first
Do
time
you
we
mind
discussed
doing
it.
that? I mean, calling Triple T and telling them, you know,
Yeah, I'm just curious, are there times when the dumpsters are slowly being filled and other times overfilled?
it's, when you go past it each
So
day, it's a
random.
call shot, you know.
So you couldn't schedule it for every Friday
No,
and then
not-
have it work?
Not as a rule, because it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Some weeks it'll fill up in 4 days.
Holidays.
Holidays
or
something.
Christmas,
July, it's 2
Fourth of July,
days.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing is trying to figure out, you know, on Thursday, looking at the dumpster saying, if I don't call today, will that dumpster handle what we're gonna get for the weekend? We're pretty lucky and Triple T works with you. You know, if I call on Monday morning, say, look, I'm in an overage situation, if you can get here as soon as you can, you know, maybe it'd be that day or maybe the next day, but they need to have 1 day lead time.
Right,
And I usually call them 7 o'clock in the morning, because that's when they start their day for the next day pickup. You know, if that's something that you don't mind doing, that's one less thing that I have to do.
I'd be willing to try it, you know, town wants me to take the responsibility and add it to my duties and try to be on top of it.
All right, because we won't know until March if we're even gonna continue that the following year too, so, so we're looking at that, this,
money to the church.
Gwen, you wanna, we'll go finish, so I heard Mark and Guy, and you have, what would you prefer?
Well, I thought because we put Mark on a 30-hour-a-week deal, that we were making sure that he had the 30-hour-a-week jobs to do. And I thought this would just take some pressure off Guy, you know, having to do it all the time.
Okay. Stan?
I am mixed emotions. I don't wanna create an image where Mark feels like he is the dumping person for any job that somebody doesn't want. On the other hand, from the perspective of being responsible for the highway, roadside maintenance, et cetera, it would make sense that would be kind of disappointing if he has control of these other areas in town, because it's this eyesore at an intersection of two roads that's looking kind of messy when he has the ability, in essence, to straighten it up and make a phone call, maybe even on a cell phone. Done and over with in minutes, and they'll probably tell you, do they tell you when they're coming? It seems like a simple process that we
Yeah,
don't
you
need
just
to-
call them up in the morning,
Okay.
say, will you please pick up our recycling bin tomorrow morning? You know,
Yeah,
you give them 1 day lead time.
Yeah.
And the weekends, like I say, it's kind of like, you know, it's hard to judge, but after a while you get a feeling for it, and 99% of the time you're right, but you know, there's that one time where you have a lot of overage and people, for whatever reason, will just always put stuff outside the
Yeah.
bins. It's, you know, it gets.
we're not the only town with that one.
Yeah, and you know, I get tired of picking up and putting it in there. And I just don't feel that should be part of my responsibility.
My last statement is my understanding based on what we stated in this on page 1. It's a living document. If we find it doesn't work out right, Mark finds it doesn't work out right, we can change it.
Okay. Bruce,
I'm good. I read the whole thing.
David, you wanna add anything else before
Mark's good with it, I'm good with it.
Mark says?
No, I mean, I guess I'll just say that I want to make sure that there's going to be a good deal of discussion between Guy and Mark on what Guy has learned over the years of doing this and monitoring it, because this has significant cost implications to the town if we do it excessively or if we do it wrong. So I think we just need to be very careful with how we manage that, like Guy has for many years. And but yeah, if we think we want to shift it to Mark to have him do it, then we can try it.
I guess that would be a question you need to ask Guy, if he's willing to continue doing it like he has been, or does he wanna give the, it's.
Well, I just don't wanna be involved in the cleaning up around the dumpsters anymore. I'm just done with that because, you come to work and you smell like garbage, you pick up stuff, it's just a nasty job, and yet it troubles me when I see it there. Like everyone else, we have pride in our time, you try to pick it up, Bruce has helped me, you guys, everyone has done at one point or another. I would just like to shy away from that. If you wish for me to continue the monitoring of the dumpster and making the call to Triple T, I can do that. I just don't wanna be involved in taking care of the outside of the dumpster anymore, because I just don't wanna do it anymore, it's too much. So if you want, I'll continue to do the monitoring of it and call them up to, pull the dumpster when we need to pull it. And that so far has worked out pretty well for us. The Triple T people, they're really excellent to work with. So I can continue in that vein, but I really didn't wanna be involved in picking up all the trash, When I go by, if I see stuff there, like everyone else, I will put stuff in there, but.
Are there things that you can relate, not in this meeting, but after the meeting,
Yeah.
between now and you start doing?
But I'll just continue to
help
be the
mark out.
monitoring,
Yeah.
I will do the calling to Triple T.
All right, so we're gonna then split that responsibility with the phone call administrative part handled by Guy.
Yeah, you
And
can just,
the maintenance part handled by Mark. You can add that to the part of the major duties. Any other, okay, I also wanted to ask under item E, follow weather conditions affecting highways and make provisions for extra maintenance required, ensure 24-hour coverage for emergencies, high priority winter maintenance, plowing, sanding and salting operations. Mark would not be responsible for plowing, sanding and salting, correct?
Not individually, but I guess the question comes up, we're hiring someone who is gonna be the interface between whoever we hire and the select board.
Yes.
So maybe an insertion of the word monitoring or
Yes, okay.
interfacing or something of that nature.
Mhm.
Monitoring the plowing, monitoring, I think it's good word, okay.
Yeah, I'm generally in contact with the road, winter road persons, about salt, sand. If roads need to be pushed back, I do that. If there's a tree down, I'll take care of that, but yeah.
Okay.
So you do monitor those winter operations, all right. Other than that, I have nothing else on page 2, move to page 3.
Actually,
Okay.
one thing I just noticed is that qualifications, the L looks like it's actually an exclamation point instead of an L
Good
on the header for it. I didn't notice that before, but.
QUAIL, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that, it is L on my software, but I couldn't, in this printout, for whatever reason, it just didn't
Yeah.
print out. It does look like an exclamation point, but I'll double check. I believe I already did. Thank you, David.
All right. So can we have then at the next meeting a clean copy of these with the edited, and then we will put it on the agenda? Or, okay,
Would you like me to do that?
would you do that,
Absolutely.
Stan? We appreciate it, so we'll sign off on the job description. And the next one, want that?
No.
All right, excellent. All right, the next one is the Regional Emergency Management Committee appointee. All right, turns out, I guess I didn't read it as clearly as I should have. The Regional Emergency Management appointee needs to be a member of either the Newbrook Fire Department, Rescue Inc., or the Vermont State Police. So although we appointed Mark, he doesn't qualify, but I am gonna have to work with him for something else. So I reached out to Gary Laborda, figuring he may have the time to attend the 4 quarterly meetings and be the communicationist for the Newbrook Fire Department. That would be appropriate. But Gary has told me that he is stepping back from his roles at the Newbrook Fire Department, and that Mike Fontaine, who was a past select board member and a member of the fire department currently, knows quite a bit about the town of Brookline. So I have emailed and written to Mr. Fontaine, and I told him I will get in touch with him in the next few days to see if he would be interested in being the Newbrook person that would go to these meetings. And these meetings used to be the emergency management and fire chiefs roundtables. So they're just converting it to this regional emergency management committee. So, you know, this is mostly fire chiefs are involved in that, and I know Michael plays a role in it. So that's to be determined. I'll get back to you, and if Michael is interested in being it, then I'll ask him to participate in the meeting on Tuesday, November 16th. So I would like the board's permission to, am I asking the board's permission to appoint him so that he is on the committee if he agrees to it between now and the 16th? And then we'll concur with my appointment at the next meeting. Is that all right?
That sounds fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can I just say, I mean, and I know you must feel this way also. I mean, honestly, in a way, I'm not, all these restrictions on who they will allow to be on the committee. I don't know what exactly they expect us to do. What if we can't convince anybody who's part of Newbrook to do it? I mean, then what? We're not allowed to represent ourselves? I mean, it seems like it's almost more on them to get one of their people who lives in our town, if it has to be a resident, to participate in this in order to make their rules. Yeah. So yeah, I think you should have approval to appoint him if he's willing to do it, certainly.
Right, I mean, there's a couple of other firemen in town, but that was the one that Gary recommended since he stepped into Gary's position, Gary's relinquished, so that's my first point. So the next meeting on the 16th is before ours, so it's okay, I'll appoint him and then we'll concur on the next day. All right, thank you very much. Statement of the Brookline Select Board to the Townsend Select Board. I emailed a copy, I believe one for the town. I emailed a copy, right, to everybody?
I haven't gotten
I don't think you did. I don't believe I've seen a copy of it.
I am sorry, okay, I'll probably look at my draft folder and that's where I find things after the fact. But, I looked at the statement that Townsend's lawyers reviewed and they made for the school for the disappointment of having the Nazi flag, and I adapted it in the following way. I wrote to the Townsend Select Board. It says an agenda item for the Brookline Select Board on October 20th, 2021 was a discussion to send a statement of support to our neighboring town of Townsend, Vermont. As the chair of the Brookline Select Board, I would like to state the following. The town of Brookline, like the town of Townsend, values all of our residents and visitors, no matter their backgrounds or identities. While differences of opinions can be celebrated and debated, we also condemn symbols of hate being displayed. Brookline, like Townsend, is a welcoming community as a whole, and we wish to be supportive of the health and well-being of all of the West River Valley towns. Sincerely, Dorothy Maggio, Chairwoman of the Brookline Select Board. So I
would just maybe interject that you were actually authorized at the end of the last meeting by a vote send that
to send
letter.
that letter.
So.
Yeah.
So if you're making reference as opposed to you having usurped that, but as approved at the board. So
As
the board
yes.
gets credit in its entirety for it.
Correct. So, and I really think I said, I'm gonna leave that to the town clerk.
Can I just
Yes,
chime
sir.
in to say, I mean, I
yeah.
appreciate, well, no, I mean, I wasn't at the meeting, but I appreciate the fact that you guys took the time to respond to it and make a statement, especially since it was, you know, a request of one of the townspeople. And I think the adapted statement you just read sounded very good to me, and I think is very sensible in the circumstances. So thank you for doing that.
All right, you're very welcome. All right, item D, repairs to a class 4 trail, discussions about the actual cost with materials. At the last select board meeting, we talked about a request from Johnny Swing to repair some work, to repair the washout from the summer storm on Bennett Road, which comes up to the hairpin turn on Putney Mountain Road. And we said that we probably thought we could do it by pushing the materials back into the area. I went up there that following Monday on an ATV and took a look at it, and I talked to Mark after that and said it looks like there's a lot more material than what's there, because it's been scoured out quite a bit, and I think there's 5 culverts up there. So Mark and Archie met again, so why don't you just fill us in, and we can always talk about this project does qualify for FEMA, we found out, and that we can wait until a better season to do the repairs, but you wanna just explain what you and Archie saw?
Yeah, so Archie went up as far as the upper last culvert up the hill. There are 5 culverts in place. The very upper one is exposed, the materials have silted away. And the culverts are clogged up each one. I felt I could go up through, the road has deep rutting right down the middle, the tire tracks. So I felt that to make the road passable, I could spend one day with a machine just to pull material from one side and the other side into the middle just to make it passable. There was also between each culvert or at each culvert site was a rise in the road, a water bar to stop any waters that was coming down the trail to revert it off the road immediately, and those have washed through as well. So I felt that I could bring the road back into a drivable shape with an SUV 4-wheel drive if John needed to go to his camp. However, Archie went and he felt that it would be skimping on material, enough material to do that and cover the upper culvert that is exposed. And we both agreed that if there's funds available, that maybe we could wait and see how much it would take. Archie threw out a number at me, what he thought for materials added to this to bring it up to grade, and it was around a $5,000 material cost, not including placing with
Not the
machinery
equipment
trucks.
and the workers in it, so it is a bigger project than we thought.
Yeah, I'm, if you add 5,000 to a couple of days of equipment and then plus trucking, 50, 70, $10,000.
Right, and I spoke with Johnny Swing, and he said that he would understand if it was a project that we put off into the springtime, considering the fact that we're sort of juggling things around.
Right.
And then Mark, tell them what you when we were at that meeting.
Okay, so we had a road foreman's meeting last week. And Dot was nice enough to volunteer to go to that, and we went. And it was about different topics that each town is going through, and a lot of grant issues, comparing notes with other road foremans and crews, and so there was the big topics of our Better Back Road grants, and then this mitigation grant that we are in the process of doing. And so when we were more or less done speaking about it, and they wanted to know if anybody had any questions, and I was just curious if there was any options for funding to help with our damaged class 4 roads, and immediately Jeff Nugent from Wyndham Regional spoke up and said yes, that there is funding that's available for a class 4 road. And then Alan May, who works with Better Back Road, spoke for a few minutes about how to get the funding. There's a website, and
We're gonna, yeah, I and I are gonna be on
Okay.
that tomorrow.
so this website, if you look it up, it's Vermont Grants.
Oh,
So it's a whole list of grants that may be available for certain road projects, so. Hearing that, that was, the height of the discussion on it, but it sounds like we may be able to.
Right.
To get some funding to help with the materials and the equipment.
Right, they said any erosion over 12 inches in diameter, and you could put a little Volkswagen in some of these holes that happened up or further, so we'll work on that, and I'll talk to Johnny and we'll let, and Archie will decide when the best time to do it.
Sure.
Stan?
Is Greer Road a class 4 road?
Yes.
Yes, that was reduced for.
In the event that party B hears about party A, are we prepared to go that extra mile for Greer Road?
That's what.
Because if you remember back, we ran into the problem with Greer Road because we had done part of Merrill Drive.
Could I ask you to do an inspection of Greer Road for the town and get back to me about its condition and if that also needs to be addressed from the storm damage, any storm damage? Thank you.
Yes,
That's
that's
very
very good.
Well, I just don't want to down the road have the town confronted with accusations or any thoughts of discrimination
Yeah.
on one basis or not.
All right.
It's only fair that if one
Right.
receives.
Any other
help.
class 4 roads that we have?
That is it, that I'm aware of where.
You know, the fire and ice, psychological capacity.
Is-
Windmill Hill Trail
That's a trail.
was a class 4, but it's been.
You downgraded to a trail.
reduced.
And how about Merrill Drive, the other side of it? Is that
That's
considered
privately.
That's private, yeah.
privately owned? So we're just dealing with the Bennett and the Greer Road.
As far as I know, that's our class 4 responsibilities, yeah.
All right, so if you'll inspect that and get back to us.
I mean, it's a class 4 through to a certain section of Bennett, but, yeah, the part in topic is the washed out. And from the upper culvert, up to Johnny's camp is pretty decent. It's very minimal, doesn't fall under the foot deep.
Okay, well, that's good. Excellent, good point, Stan, thank you so much. All right, move on, wheeled excavator discussion of the lease option divide possibility and also loan discussions for equipment purchase. This month's Vermont League of Cities and Towns newsletter that went out for November, December had several articles of interest in it, and one of it was when can the legislative body borrow money without voter approval? And that is one of the things, I know Guy's been saying that, but we certainly can borrow for the purchase of tools, equipment, materials necessary for the construction, the maintenance or repair of highways and bridges as long as the term is for 5 years or less. So we also have borrowing availability from the state municipal equipment loan fund for the purchase of construction, fire, emergency or heavy equipment or vehicles as long as the term is for 5 years or less. My concern is that the loan is got 2 dates. October 15th and April 15th. So when we had first started leasing wheeled excavators, I do remember a discussion of the lease option to own. And I don't, that the company would apply $7,000-8,000 that we put in for leasing if we wanted to buy it, you know, that they would apply that towards it. So let's talk a little bit about equipment here.
Well, let me just add to that. When we originally looked at the excavator that we considered for purchasing, I negotiated with the people in Albany, and they were willing to take the amount of money that we had paid for a lease and apply that as part of the down payment for the machine. So at that point, we had a good rapport with them. You know, each company is different, each person, each piece of machinery might be different, but the opportunity is out there. So, you know, again, whether they will do it, I don't know. But that first opportunity we had, they were gonna take that lease and apply that toward I think it was $7,000 or $10,000
Right.
toward the purchase price.
So some vendors do that.
Yep.
Some vendors will do that. So Mark was doing a little research, he did find a 2018 JCB wheeled excavator in Yonkers, New York, and you have a connection with one of the people that work there, you were telling us about it. And this wheeled excavator is list price of $136,500, but it says make an offer. It's a used one,
Here I am.
160 hours on it, so it's,
There was a
Yeah.
demo that, you know, they just let people try and they only had 166 hours on it.
That's almost new.
yeah.
Are you familiar with the list prices on the brand new?
I talked to Chris Liller, road foreman in town of Stratton. They purchased one and I asked him what the base price was and he told me 183,000 for the basic machine
With nothing on it?
with just a big bucket, no other option.
I'm getting ahead of you, I'm sorry.
Nope, that was
What's on this?
This is a rear dozer, parallel lift, dual wheel dipper. Here, Mark, I'm gonna keep.
I understand completely with it.
High pressure, quick hitch, pipe work, rotating amber strobe beacon, deluxe seat, high back fabric, heated air suspension seat, radio kit, radio speakers, convenience pack, USB port, rear screen wiper with wash, reverse alarm, kit, upgrade work light to LED, wheel fenders, dual flotation wheels, trailer towing kit, clevis for rear parallel dozer, auto up, rear reverse steer, 28-inch excavator bucket. So it has the bucket.
Will it support an over the rail,
We don't want them comfortable, we want them to.
will it support an over the rail grass cutter?
Yeah.
I think that when we do, that would be the piece, the extra
That we-
piece.
Yes.
That goes with it.
Yeah, now, I know for a fact that it will accept brush hog mowers, rotary mowers. It'll accept multiple
So it has the PTO for it.
But I believe, Guy, when you talked to
Yes.
over to Able Equipment, that they were gonna set up a mower, and do you recall the price on that?
That was $7,500, I believe, $7,500 or $8,500 5 years ago.
Okay, that was,
Well, I do have, okay, so I would like to, I mean, we're sort of spinning our wheels, sort of not really breaking the ice on going forward, so what do we wanna do? I mean, should we make a phone call?
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
I mean, unless I'm mistaken, the last time we talked about this, we were going to have a discussion again, and I think Mark was gonna give it some thought, and maybe he has given it thought and knows exactly what kind of machine. I think we were gonna try to define parameters of what what capabilities of machine we thought made sense so that we could then try to identify potential actual machines that met those criteria. It seems like we've skipped past that point though, and now we're looking at one specific machine. But
Yeah,
Well,
I will have to say that because Mark, we went to the foreman's meeting and he was talking about it, I Googled it, and I was able to find the machine that he, you know, but some machines are, the turnaround is pretty quick. Explain what you found out about, oh, that machine just got sold and this.
Yeah, so I, over the past 6 months, I've gone on and offline, just kind of window shopping and gotten a list of these wheel excavators. And so at a couple meetings ago, I decided I would have some information available. And I made like 6 phone calls to 6 different companies that had the similar wheel excavators, and the first 3, one of them was just going out the parking lot, the other 2 had very recently sold. And then I did receive information back from one company that they had a used machine available, and if I was interested to let them know, get back to them. And at that point, I wasn't sure what our spending level was gonna be or how soon we'd be able to buy, so I didn't go into details. The machine here that Dot has information on turned out to be a sales representative to JCB and Komatsu. And they were breaking the business down, separating the JCB from Komatsu. He had 2 machines left, one had sold, this one was left. And it would come with a digging bucket. And I asked him about delivery, and he said he could, if it was purchased, he could help find trucking to get the machine moved. So I didn't go into any other details, not knowing if the deal was, how far out we're even looking. But I do know that the town of Stratton recently purchased, they traded in a rubber tired backhoe toward a brand new JCB, and they love it. I've talked with the road crew, each of them have used it. They purchased a mower after their deal. They got the machine, then they went out and pursued their own mulching mower, which will shred trees right to the ground, with stumps and all. Of course, Stratton's a ski area town, they have a lot of
Right.
bigger budget.
Exactly, yeah. How often do they replace their equipment?
They have it like every 5-year
Yeah,
schedule. But actually, when I rented the JCB that we had, I ran into Stratton's road foreman and I told him, we got on the subject of mowing, and I told him that we had this machine, and he was very interested. So he came and looked at it when Brookline rented. Went back home, called the representative, they came and that took the value of their backhoe, made him a deal, they agreed on. So they purchased, and I'm just saying that they think the machine is the ultimate choice of weapon for a road business. They also got the bucket, the 4-in-1 bucket for picking up.
Oh, the thumb and everything?
Yeah, their backhoe had a thumb on it. And they said you had to be a certain distance away to make the thumb work proper, and it was usually in the way loading the truck. But the 4-in-1 bucket, they're very happy with how that works, and that's on the wheel excavator. Can pick up big rocks or wood or multiple functions. So I was seeing how pleased they were with their machine. Then Wardsboro also, they had a 55 Volvo, which was a third again smaller in weight and size. And they didn't know this machine existed, that we had the JCB. So they've been doing their ditch work with a smaller machine, smaller wheel excavator. And when they realized there was a machine that was the next step up and tried it, they traded theirs in and got the JCB 110. And they're liking it very much. There was a couple issues. They bought a secondhand one with a trade-in. And so they're very pleased, I believe, with theirs. Town of Jamaica also has a small wheel excavator in the 12,000 pound range, and I heard rumors that they're considering looking into JCB. Londonderry has the same piece of equipment, JCB, that they've had for a few years. And when we were renting, the sales rep came down to help me show me how to operate the machine, and he was showing me some videos of other towns up in the very far north, up near the Canadian border, and they had a brush hog mower on theirs, like the one I ideally looked at, like the one we tried on the Terex machine that we had rented a few years back. And he said the town loved it up there. They'd stop at their areas and sweep with the boom and mow, and then they could go right down the road and mow. So the versatility of having this machine as a mower and a digger, you can, if there's no culverts to put in, and you can mow in July, get ahead of your invasive species, and then, near the end of August, if it needs it again, your capabilities there. So as far as the size machine and what's out there available, it sounds like this machine is becoming very popular with towns. Maybe not for like the highway departments on the interstates, but small towns with gravel roads are really liking this machine.
We noticed when we looked at this paperwork, that it said that they couldn't do financing in Vermont. Remember when I hit that link?
Right. Interesting, yeah, that when, at the very end of this page, it says, of course, it's whatever here, it says, residing in Nevada, Vermont, or Wisconsin, those three states, they don't provide financing, but if we got our own financing
Yeah.
from the bank or from Vermont
do that.
municipalities, then that's different than.
But if we're looking at a lease with option to buy, the lease is with whom? Then?
Well, I haven't, this may not be a lease to option to buy company, but we have to find out. I just wanted to get a conversation
Yeah.
going that, should we call, it says so we can, video chat with this dealer, should we call the dealer up?
Yeah.
How we're gonna.
But
Yeah,
before
we
you do-
need to stop discussing it and start
There
moving
you go.
forward.
Exactly.
But I just add one more kind of an important thing. So we had a grant offer to purchase small equipment. Every town in Vermont has this grant available to purchase. There was 5 different pieces of machinery, and you had to sign an intent, which got us
The blower.
got us the intent signed in time to be eligible to purchase, and it was an 80-20 grant, I believe.
80-20 grant, yes.
So,
Over $1,000.
and at the time, you had to decide out of which 5 pieces of equipment you would like to have for your town, and the topic came up at the road foreman's meeting about these leaf blowers that the towns are all purchasing. Some towns already have them. And what a huge deal it is to be able to blow the leaves out of your ditches and out of your culvert inlets and outlets. This leaf blower is a gas powered machine that hooks onto a piece of machinery and you drive down the road and you can angle, I guess, the blow nozzle into the ditch, and it's got such great wind power that it will blow sticks and leaves out of the ditches. Like right now, we're doing this stone line ditching Clean Water Act. And one of the big issues is, well, what do you do when your ditches get full of leaves and sticks, and then so then you gotta dig them out, take the stone somewhere, separate, run it through a grate where it separates the material, the sand, the stones, the leaf sticks, and then you put the stone back, and that's a lot of cost to exchange your stone out of the ditches, put it back. It's something where, you know, there's miles of this stone line ditching that we have to do in the future. By 2025, we're supposed to have all of our ditches, the certain segments done with ditch stone. So these leaf blowers, these town guys just raved about how well it cleaned the ditches. And so then it came up, one of the point I'm trying to get at is town of Stratton. The machine, the JCB has a Reese hitch on the blade for pulling a trailer or an attachment, and this new leaf blower is set up, I believe, so it can be mounted into a receptacle hitch, like on a 1-ton dump truck. Or it would fit on this wheel excavator that could be used to drive down the road and clean ditches, which is another added feature to this piece of machinery. So
And we did get the grant, we were awarded it, we did get the $7,000. We can, I think we have to purchase it by June 22nd, June of 2022. But it's up to $7,000, and I think our price would be $1,400 for the piece of equipment. So we can always say no if we don't have anything to put it on.
well, I appreciate Doc managed to catch this grant before we lost out, and I think it was big that we were able to get this approved, and it's only gonna cost us around $1,400 to purchase the leaf blower out of like a $5,000 machine.
And this will fit in the back of your truck, or
It-
in the back
it
of
would-
a truck.
It's got multiple applications. The one town was gonna put it on their excavator on the hitch. Another town put it in a little trailer. Left it right in the trailer, they hook onto the trailer and pull it. The only downfall was you can't see, you know, you're looking over your shoulder in a truck. And the blower's on the ditch side. A lot of the guys would have to go up the road on the wrong side of the road. I was thinking, you know, there's an option, maybe we could figure out a way to put it on the grader. Hook it to the front of the grader or side of the grader blade.
So it's a self-contained unit?
Yes, yeah, and it has a remote control cable that would reach the cap, but ideally, if you did have a wheel excavator, that would be an added feature. Your mowing, your culverts, your stone line ditches, and also leaf blowing could be added into that.
Bruce?
If I can make a suggestion, first question. Do you know if that wheel excavator is still available?
No.
The only thing I went back online and looked at the date of the latest picture, and it was still dated as upgraded.
Okay.
But I did not make any calls, didn't wanna waste the guy's time, so.
Okay, what I was thinking is that you and I had a discussion about what pieces of equipment would be good to have, it's like over the rail mower and that claw, which is a mimic to the thumb of a backhoe.
Great,
What I'm suggesting, if we call them and see if it's available and find out what the options that you're interested in putting it on it, getting a price, and then we could consider what we're gonna do. But we're basically buying a car with that and equipment on it at this point, so we really don't know the cost, we don't even know it's still on the lot, so to speak.
And we don't know how to pay for it, yes.
And that too, we don't know the financing as
Yeah,
well.
I've heard of lease companies that will buy the machine, you pay them, and at the end you give them $1 and buy it back. I don't know how that works. There's bank loans and there's,
Well, the first thing
I know municipalities get deals on equipment, and I'm not sure.
It is workarounds.
VermontTreasury.com was the
Yep.
I talked about for financial.
So,
I
The-
think,
The summary that I gave out last meeting under this topic summarizes the program that's available through the state.
right,
And there's
municipal
a
equipment.
2% interest
yeah,
in
it's a
law.
really good deal.
You may recall that several meetings back, I did investigation with some local banks.
Mhm.
And they indicated that some of them would not handle the municipal loan themselves. They have subsidiaries of them that will deal with that sort of thing. However, the individual said the rate of interest is gonna be anywhere between 3.5% and 5%. And the documentation, the balance sheets, the income expense and expense statements, et cetera, generally are required to be provided for that sort of thing. So those on the surface, unless there's a dedicated desire to do whatever we need to do, is gonna require a lot of work on the part of somebody, a treasurer, if nothing else. It would almost seem to me that we've got potentially two options to look at. The lease with option to own and finding out what the most likely purchase price would be without having a definite number. And looking at what is required for down payment requirements. And then look at what the repayment schedule is. Is it monthly, semi-annually, annually? How does that fit in with our town budget? I think the other thing we don't know is what financial condition the town is gonna be in going into this next year. And I don't see how we can actually, other than discuss it, enter into any kind of definite proposal to purchase anything until we know the answers to those questions.
Right.
So there's a number of things that need to come together, which I think will come together in the process of doing our budget. The numbers will start to make sense, and hopefully we'll get to know what kind of reimbursement we're getting from the emergency sources and grants, and then package it together. The easiest thing to say is, let's just do it. But having worked collections for a bank for 15 years, it's not that simple.
Right.
You can end up behind the 8 ball. And I know this may sound ridiculous, but if anyone is so interested in getting it, they want to throw prudence to the wind, let them guarantee the loan for the bank personally, and let the townspeople try to work it out in front. You know, I mean, that seems harsh, but I sense that we really need to be more prudent, more organized, and looking at this and put the blocks together to make that complete picture as they develop. And we have not worked on the budget or look at forecasts for the coming year to know where we are and what we can handle and what we can't. I will interject this, which is gonna probably upset some people. We have assets in this town. We have a daycare center that probably is worth 350, 400,000. Why are we on a treadmill to make that thing work when we can sell it, buy the thing outright, have money for the town budget in a reserve or whatever fashion you want to supplement the attachments and whatever projects we have in town. So I would just throw that idea out. I don't think I've decided on that as a course to take, but I think if we're looking at asking people, and most of the people in town are getting older, you know, people are talking about limiting social security, you know, taking it away, to talk about creating debt at a time like that where there are so many unknowns, and once we prove on paper this will work, we ought to look at all the aspects of it.
Right, and I think we do have some good points, very good points. And I do think we have some historical information that Guy found out about the cost that we spend on renting machines and sending out materials, work jobs to vendors that we could be doing here in town as well.
That all needs to be looked at.
So, and I agree that we're not gonna do it this week, but I still would like to I would like to get our feet a little wet and make some calls and find out what prices, because again, this is $130-something thousand, it's a lot of money, but then
Yeah.
again, it's not as much money as it could be.
Right, I mean, I've seen some for 236,
Exactly.
185,
And of course, it's
139 seems like a heck of a deal. For 180 hours, what's wrong with it?
Well, there's
The
a
company's-
Not necessarily.
the company's splitting up.
Well, that's the-
How 180 hours, it's a demo, and does it come with a warranty?
Yeah.
So what do we do to stop the spinning of our wheels?
Okay.
What
Can I
was
just-
the- Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
Can I? So I want to say, first off, that I agree with everything that Stan just said about the being prudent about, I mean, we should be able to figure out a lot of this information. And quite frankly, if we can't come up with this information, then, something's wrong. One other thing that I would add, that in addition to some of the historical stuff that, I know Guy pulled together a lot of information, but that was several years ago. We should be able to pull together more recent information. The other thing that I think would be very useful in helping us justify the expense of this amount of money and explaining to townspeople why we decided, if we do decide to spend this amount of money, is to look at the most recent FEMA situation we've had. We should be able to figure out if we had this kind of, you could be this exact piece of equipment you guys have been talking about. If we had that piece of equipment, less would we have paid to A.S. Clark and whoever else to do all the repairs that we had to do in that emergency situation. It's a very recent example, so we should be able to figure that part out. To know exactly how much, not exactly, it's going to be approximations, but a good approximation of how much this will save us. Also, to Stan's point, even if I know that, however we go about doing the funding for it, the financing, we still have to come up with a lot of money as our share of that. And at the moment, I have no idea where that money would come. You talk about $136,000 for this, that's $34,000 is our part if we did the municipal loan. So I don't know where that $34,000 would come from. So there's a lot of things, to Stan's points, that I think we need to figure out before we can just pull the trigger. It's unfortunate because I know we potentially go through this and then we may not immediately be able to find the kind of equipment we want. But hopefully at that point, we will know quite clearly what kind of piece of equipment we want and we can afford. And then we go through the process of making it happen.
Yeah, I think knowing what kind of equipment that we can afford is important. I think we know what we would like, based upon what we rented at least before another town's information, but how do we start this?
Well, I think it's also important, can I say, and this is to Mark, I think it's also important for us to really, and this happened when there was the committee that was formed. I think maybe the parameters that were formed then are different now, maybe they're not. I think we really kind of need to have in our heads, what is the minimum effective piece of equipment that we need? What are the attributes of the equipment that we know we have to have? There may be other things that it comes with, which are a bonus, but quite frankly, we may not want to pay for all of those other things that are the bonus. This is the reality of how we need to go about doing it. It's how I would go about buying a car. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't, as a town, go about it in an even more detailed way than I would.
Well, I've seen that piece of equipment, I haven't driven it. And the way I see it is this man knows how to use it and he's really happy with it. That doesn't mean we can afford it or we can't, but what I would like to see is what we can do, what we can find out as far as a price on this thing with the equipment that Mark thinks he could use and see what it looks like and see if there is a lease option to buy. If there's a lease option to buy, we're already paying out How much, Guy?
$39,000 a year is what we appropriate for equipment vendors. We also put away money every year in a budget for equipment. So there has been money being put aside for quite a while.
Okay,
So we do have some resources, whether they've been expended yet or not, I don't know. The other thing is that with state treasurer, it's an 80-20 thing also. So again, we would have to come up with 20% down, but I think what we're missing is the fact that we have to look at the long term, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We are, as a town, hold on to equipment until it just about rots underneath us. So as far as that goes, if we get a good piece of equipment, it'll last us a long time. The first couple of years, yes, there will be an expense. But in the long run, in 5 or 6 years, when we don't have to pay $25,000 to have our lawn, the side of the roads good, then we don't have to do other things. We'll realize that this was a smart investment. It's just a matter of sitting down and saying, yes, we have to do this, because right now, we don't even have a piece of equipment if, God forbid, there was an emergency tomorrow.
yes.
The vendors out there are all busy. Dummerston was fortunate, they got all their vendors lined up. We were lucky to have A.S. Clark, but that's not gonna happen all the time. So, I think there's funding there, and the bottom line is that if we spend, I figured it out with the last thing, it costs us $12,000 or $14,000 or $15,000 to pay off each monthly payment for a year. And if you take that over the 5-year term, that paid off the machine, and then we would have owned it. So it's like anything else, there's gonna be a payment, but I think it'd be offset by some of the work that we can do as a town for ourselves and not depend on anyone else. We can be there when we need to be there.
So what I was thinking is that first things up, we're doing the budget within the next month. We're gonna know what everything looks like. We're gonna know, holy smokes, we're $50,000 in the hole. We can't do this. But like Guy said.
We're not gonna be 50,000 in the hole, I don't want that to be.
I don't know that. Wait a minute, I don't know that. I don't know that. I haven't looked at the financials. We haven't resolved the financials. We don't know yet what we're gonna put in the budget for next year. That's coming up in the next. Fortunately for us, it's an off season. We're in the next 3 weeks to a month, gonna resolve the budget. We'll know where we sit. Everybody will be comfortable with what our budget looks like. And an answer to what everything you had to say about the road fund as to whether it can be worked out in terms of a down payment. Also in regard to, we haven't got any information yet on lease with option to buy. I think it would be a good idea to call this dealer, doesn't hurt. Find out, maybe Mark could be involved with the equipment that you think you should have. I'm not saying you should buy chocolate with the cake or anything like that. I'm just saying the stuff that you feel you need. We've talked about it. Stan and I think was a part of that discussion. And find out what the cost is. And then we can go from there.
All right.
And one more thing.
Go ahead.
And look, I get a chance to speak every once in a while.
I know.
Sorry. And lastly, just have a discussion with him as to what he's gonna do with the price.
Here's where I'm coming from. So we need a committee to do this.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way between ARPA and FEMA and all the other stuff that I can say, all right, I'll start doing some of this. I just can't do it all. So I'm not sure how. Yeah, it's a real investment of time and sweat and tears. And so,
Or smart.
no, whatever. So let's discuss that then. How are we gonna get this?
I think the big thing is knowing what number we can go at for shopping. So it's gonna take figuring out the budget and our needs.
So we're talking about like January, February.
Yeah, I mean, once the ground's frozen, there's only so much you could do, with the exception of emergencies and tree work and stuff. So I think we've got a couple, 3 months of window to
Work on that. yeah.
pursue.
Yeah.
But, a couple things to consider would be, we're gonna be doing grant work with a piece of machinery to save town money by doing it ourselves. So we've got all this stone line ditching to think about between now and 2025 that has to be done. Be nice to be able to do it in town to save that money. Also mowing. We would have to rent a mower at least once a year, not twice.
Twice a year, yeah.
Ideal. So those factors would go in there, and just so much other opportunities that a piece of machinery could give us. But in order for us to shop for that, we kind of gotta know the budget. How much of a loan we can get, I guess, if we go with a loan. What's the low, what's the high, what the town can afford, so.
I'm hearing that plus the
Figure
fact that
those things out and then go to these vendors and say, you've got this machine, would you take this for it? So we know what we have to.
All right, well, my concern was, getting some kind of schedule. I'd like to see some kind of schedule. So, all right, yes, it's important. We need to work on our budget and it needs to be done in the next 2 months, next 8 weeks. We need to have our budget done. So I'm looking at maybe one of our mid-January meetings that we bring this back up so that January, February, March, we have this, and then April 15th, we can apply. April 15th is a deadline for the loan.
State treasury.
I think there's another phase of that, that's the data, the information that both of you experienced from your past involvement in this very issue needs to be pulled together to make it prove and make sense to the average individual that this is good for the town. It's gonna save a bill every year of X number of dollars, and those payments that we're making are going to property that the town owns. So it's gotta be that phase, not the budget, but then making the economic sense of it. And then finding out what is it that, or discussing at the same time, which I think David mentioned before, is finding out what it is we really want, what kinds of attachments fit on what models, and is it what's gonna make the town benefit tremendously and your personal involvement benefit tremendously from that.
All right, so at this point, I'm gonna table further discussion so we can continue with our agenda. But I'm gonna say that our second meeting in January this will reappear, and by that time, we really need to have a consensus as to who's gonna do what part of this research. We're gonna have to take this project, break it down, and we're gonna have to do some research with the loan again. We're gonna have to do some research with the equipment peripherals that we have. We'll have to do some research as to what we did spend on and what we could have saved if we had our, comparisons. But so this will be something that will come back again. Yes.
I'm willing to work with Guy and Mark and David on putting something together that from an economic standpoint proves the viability of it or ascertains the viability, not just prove it. And I'm wondering if we could do that before January.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's putting everything at the end.
I agree, yeah. There's no reason we can't start working on that all now.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. I that's why I brought it up today, but I don't wanna.
Can I ask a question of,
But
so that we can maybe avoid some of the unnecessary involvement of the treasurers, other treasurers? Guy, are you able to run from Nemrick a detailed report for a line for an expense line in the highway fund to show all of the expenses that were logged against that line item?
I'm pretty sure I'm able to do that.
So that my specific question is, could you take last fiscal year, the line item for summer contract services,
Yep,
the number that we band around all the time about the 39,000. Could you run a report of that to show exactly what expenses there were that were logged under summer contract services? So then with Mark's assistance, we could go through and say all of these ones could have been done with a piece of equipment if we owned it.
yeah, and
Stuff
in our
like that.
chart of accounts, we have every single thing that we do as a number associated with it. So I can put that chart of account number in there, run it in the program at Nemrick, and it should be able to summarize in detail, actually, everything that was in that particular
Right.
line item.
Okay,
One other
Fabulous,
option,
that would be
thank
great.
you. One other option, if I may. The state municipal loan fund will finance a used piece of equipment.
Yes.
The key is, as long as it has 5 years of functional utility left. So I'm sitting here thinking, what kind of games can we play? That we can get a lease with option to buy with perhaps a balloon payment in 5 years. If there's, assuming there's enough life left on this, then finance that balance with for 2%, with the state municipal. So there's ways of structuring it, I think.
You can work around it, and as I've said many times, with the $39,000 that we have appropriated every year in the budget, if we took $7,000 or $8,000, $10,000 and applied that toward a lease, we would in 5 years be able to substantially lower the price of that machine if we have an arrangement with the dealer or the vendor that we could do that. And that's a great workaround.
Okay, well, I thank you very much. I think this was a very productive discussion, and I feel a little bit better about getting some, not being stuck and slipping and sliding and saying it's so close but yet so far away. So I feel a little bit better about this, so that was, Stan, you wanna say something?
Next F, you had mentioned a little while ago that the municipal loan requires a 20% down payment, it's actually a 25%.
All right, then it's changed.
Yeah.
It used to be an 80-20,
Right,
but if that's changed, that's.
just since we're
Yep,
gonna
no,
get
that's-
that, and that pertains to that,
Yep.
it's a 25% down payment.
Anything else on this item on the agenda? Thank you all, very, very good, thank you. Okay, under new business, an RFP wording for FEMA storm repairs up to pavement on Putney Mountain Road and the bridge at the intersection of Putney Mountain Road and Grassy Brook Road. So I wrote to Archie and Mark, and they've gone and taken a look at it, and Archie sent me a sort of like a template for a request for proposal for that material damage that needs to be done with paving. So briefly, I had a brief conversation today, and we're gonna have a little bit more contact with FEMA later on this month. What the FEMA rep said is, I said, do I have to have this repair done as soon as possible? Because, you know, the project must be done by December 1st in order to qualify for FEMA. No, he says, we want projects that are going to be done and repaired correctly. And if the paving season has gone by, it's too cold to pave, you wanna do it in the warmer season, so things can be planned but not completed. But I wanna find out more exactly what that is. So while I have a request for proposal to repair those 2 areas that were damaged during the floods of July, I don't think I'm going to be putting it forward until after I have clarification again from FEMA as to, can a paving company give me an estimate in December for a job they're gonna do in July. I don't know if they're gonna wait that, so I'll have to
Well, they
find-
might be
I have
able to
to
do it
find
in the
that out.
spring, you
Yeah,
know, this way they could set up their equipment, they'd be more than happy, I think, to have some sort of idea of what their schedule's gonna be. And they could start right at April or May,
The only
whatever.
problem-
and there are a couple of other areas in town that Marcus pointed out that could use some repair pavement where they dig it down and fix it. Which is not FEMA, but we could have a second RFP and it could be done in the same time the equipment is in town to eliminate the, you know, that over.
Well, there is that one section by the bridge going
Yes,
over Grassy Brook Road that needs to be addressed.
yes,
Yeah,
that's part of it.
That might fall under the FEMA.
Yes, that would,
flood
I would think so, because that came down from Merrill Drive.
So that might.
So so that item A under new business,
stand.
I'm gonna leave that to table this until we have more information about the timeline and how to best approach that one.
I would suggest that with OPEC doing its strange things, manipulating prices, but since macadam is made from oil, if I understand it correctly, they may have a hard time giving a quote because they have no idea what the cost of that is gonna be.
Projected so far.
Well, they may eyeball it, you know.
Well, yeah, hopefully they'll be right.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to,
There's that one other factor
okay,
that people like pavers will be setting through the winter, trying to put together a schedule. So it would be nice to
Be on the
put
schedule.
because you might get a fairer price, even though when they get their plate full, they usually bump it up. If they get
Supply and
the job,
demand,
it's great. If they don't, great, but
Yeah.
that we have to remember that one too.
right, I'm not saying we're gonna wait until
Yeah.
April to put this out, but I'm
Right.
not gonna worry about it
Right
this
away,
month.
Yeah, sure.
at this time.
I would give maybe give the paving call, the companies a call to see if in fact it would be advantageous to, in fact, send out a bid. A bid at this time of the year for next spring, because we might be missing the boat, it might be something that could
I
work
can do
in our
that.
advantage.
I'll talk to Mark,
Yeah,
I'll name a couple of companies, but I think we're gonna do that O'Brien. because it's a
Yeah,
small
see what
project.
they're
They
thinking.
kind of specialize in the smaller stuff, but just, put your RFP out sometime fairly soon, but
Yep.
have a deadline out,
Yep,
good weather, but so it doesn't linger into
it fits in with their schedule
summer.
for spring.
Yeah.
Because they're not gonna get to it this year. It's not,
Unless we have an unusual warm
yeah.
spell,
All right, I'll check with you, we'll
okay.
work on that, that's great. All right, so now we're up to 7:40, woo-hoo. Guy Tanza, report from the town clerk.
Again, the real estate market is still robust. We have a lot of things going on. It's been busy. Gwen's been doing the digitalization of the land record books. And it's been a busy office, to be honest with you. We do have a BCA meeting coming up. I just planted that seed, coming up on November 10th at 6 p.m. prior to the select board special budget meeting. And hopefully we'll be able to address some of the concerns with the redistricting. I've invited Leslie Goldman and Carolyn Partridge, and Leslie will be joining us with the Zoom. But Carolyn had knee surgery and she's not sure if she will be able to join us, but she will if she can. So we'll have them to, kind of guide us along. It's a thing that the BCA is tasked with, and hopefully it only happens once every 10 years. But I think it's good that we offer some sort of comments or suggestions to the state. It's not, it's a proposal right now, but when we submit the comments and the suggestions, they will take that into consideration when they finalize their final map for redistricting.
I heard at a seminar yesterday that there are 50 towns in the state of Vermont where they split the town in half.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, it happens. Well, I mean,
There's a theory,
yeah.
politics.
Well, okay, but that's why they're saying with the one representative for X amount of people in a town, or with a town that you can join with, so that you can meet that criteria that they're saying one representative. Because you get up in Burlington area, up there, it's just crazy, it's just really wild. We have 150 representatives and the population is 640,000 people in Vermont. So, but for our concerns, basically we're concerned, we would be joining forces with Westminster. And I have a little concern with that because Westminster doesn't share our school district, doesn't share anything. They're almost like they're totally off the wall.
Yeah.
It's, why we seceded from Newfane.
Yes.
But anyway, so
Yeah.
that will be at the BCA meeting.
But it's, they withdrew from the school system, the union school district, they wanna be on their own with their own things. I mean, we don't have anything in common.
Not at this point, but
One of the three criteria is it functionally,
Yes.
socially, economically.
but the other thing is that's contiguous with us because we do share borders with us, so I don't know, it's gonna be an interesting, and the worst we can do is submit some suggestions, criteria, criticisms, and go from there. There's a form that we'll fill out at the meeting. Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, so move on through here. I have that's a report from the health officers, waiting for a call back on the citizen complaint on that. Animal control officers, I have the municipal ticket books, but I'm trying to reach out to find out, I think I might have to do some things digitally instead of by paper, which I'll have to research that because of COVID and the fact that they're not doing something in the court systems in the same way. So more information to be coming. All right, webinars training completed. Again, everybody got a copy, I think digitally, of the VLCT newsletter. There's many articles in there of importance, including ARPA information and such that we should all take a look at reading. As Mark mentioned, we both went to the road foreman's meeting on the 27th in Dover. It was fascinating, learned a lot of information, got to see the names, got to see the faces of the people whose names we see on the emails and such, between Wyndham Regional and VTrans, and so that was a good step forward. It was the first meeting that they've had in person in a couple of years since COVID. I attended this afternoon a FEMA webinar meeting. Was it FEMA? It was ARPA. I get the two of them. It wasn't FEMA, it was an ARPA meeting this afternoon. And they used Brookline as an example of how ARPA money can be used efficiently. And they talked about us meeting with Trudy here at the town hall a few weeks ago, stating that like Brookline being a small town, some of the ARPA money, we could solicit money from neighboring towns to support the daycare building and do improvements there, because daycare is one of the things you can spend ARPA money on. And so we might be reaching out to the next few years as they develop the programs to Townsend and Newfane and any other towns that may send their kids to our daycare building. They said that the ARPA money can be spent on putting in a septic system at the community, at the Brookline Meeting House. Some of the repairs to get that up to snuff for ADA compliance, again, could come from ARPA money. They said that putting in a heated workroom with a laboratory and internet access at the town shed when we get the new one, that could also be added to ARPA money because it's part of an infrastructure thing. So he said that small towns can do big things. We still need to have a bigger outreach, and we gotta get the planning committee involved, and we have to get some surveys from the town. There's no rush to doing it all. I always feel like there's a lot of pressure to get things moving. I see Newfane developed a committee and they've already done surveys, but they are town 3 times the size and have a lot more volunteers on it, so, but those are things going on. Stan, did you have a question first? And
No.
then Bruce?
Katie Buckley was pretty clear.
Yeah, Katie Buckley, yeah.
That you get all this money, relax,
Don't rush.
don't rush. We can throw anything that we might be interested towards Chris Campney or her. Is that how bring this?
Right, yep.
And find out, like, I love the ideas that you're mentioning, but there might be other ideas. I guess what I'm trying to say, I'll make it quick, is that this is slowly gonna shake out, obviously. I have a concern whether they really know how we can spend our money. And we certainly don't wanna get ahead of them.
No, right, and be aware that we may be getting some solicitations from nonprofits for ARPA money considerations for appropriating to them.
This is
Just
gonna
keep
shake
it all,
out.
keep it all together.
We have time, this is gonna shake out.
Right, they did suggest that there is a new net loss calculator that is not yet available. Later on in the month, it'll be put online, that we need to figure out the new net loss for the year during COVID. The current calculator that's out is gotta be updated, she said, so we'll be working with Wyndham Regional and such to get our facts together. Tomorrow, Guy and I are gonna have a conference call with the program delivery manager at 10 a.m. I spoke, today with Richard Hoskin, who will be our Brookline State FEMA representative and assistant. He gave me a cell phone number, which I'll share with Guy. You can call him for any and all questions as we work through things. So he won't be in on tomorrow's conference call, but there'll be frequent conference calls and he'll be on the rest of them. He seemed like a very nice fellow. Okay, moving on to employees, appointments, elected officials. As you know, Mr. Ruffner did not make it to our select board meeting last month, 2 weeks ago. I did send him another email about some workshops, and requesting that the auditors return to being responsible for doing the check reconciliation as Samara is retiring. And so he did write back, Frank did, and said that he was gonna approach the other auditors about that. So I'll let you know when I hear from them. The treasurer position, I have to talk to Michael still. I know he did say he would stay on until the term is over, but I still need to sit down and work with them on a couple of things that are falling through the cracks. Town planners have met, again, the planning committee, they should be a part of our ARPA project planning, and so I have to get them involved in the process as well, but until I know a little bit more, I just don't know what to say to them. Okay, so now, town building commission, okay, we'll move on to the next report, town building commission, Bruce, there you go.
Okay. Try to go online. First off, I just got off the phone today with Coda and Coda, and after much fiddle farting around without being too specific, I think I finally got everything in line so that by the end of the week, it should move forward, the approval, they'll own the gas tanks, and then I can set up a service date, which is a lot.
For the burner, for the furnaces.
Right, for the gas boilers.
That was difficult, thank you.
I'm used to that.
I've seen people go through nightmares with
You know,
that. Well, I'm glad you're so.
I did it twice,
Great.
did it back in 2015, 14. But anyway, it's just stupid stuff. But anyway, move on. I seem to get some white, I can't say this a better way, whitey pants stuff coming out of the daycare. The first thing was, I got an issue supposedly that the heat wasn't going off in the school. So not to get too long-winded about it, I had like 3 follow-ups, found out the heat was fine. I don't know if you remember the nice 65-degree sunny day Friday that we had a couple of weeks ago. They're complaining the heat was staying on. I'm going over looking at the thermostats. 2 hours later, the thermostats weren't on. Look the next day, thermostats weren't on. Go down, check all the water, all my checks, everything's fine. So what I agreed to do, I haven't been happy with the Robert Shaw thermostats in that place. They're a little bit much. So I thought, I came up with the idea of just when Mr. Larson comes by, maybe I can coincidentally get him to spend 10 minutes over there to look at it, see what he thinks. Because they have one issue, which I understand, and they need programmable thermostats on the weekend. This is one of the things that the previous plumber did without telling anybody. They just screw in any old thermostat in one room. Didn't tell me, didn't tell them, just did it. And that's why they don't service the building anymore, amongst other reasons. But anyway, so that being said, I'm gonna see if I can talk to him and see what. I agree with Olivia that should come out. In fact, I offered it. I don't think that was fair. With her needs, our needs weren't, it's not expensive. And I'm gonna ask Larson Electric what he thinks about the Robert Shaw thermostats, or they were just making a big deal out of nothing. The second thing I had issue there was another clog in the toilet. Somebody put the cape of a Halloween costume down the toilet, and I received an email, and it was just very simple. Who do I call? This is that Harry. Yeah, and my answer was yes. And I haven't heard about it since. So this is the important things I'm dealing with right now. That's enough of that. No issues for the school. Amen. Town hall building. We still have to seal that corner,
This
maybe,
corner.
maybe Mark and I can do it, it's not a big deal. You go online and we can go online and find a tube of coke that, like Stan was saying, that's pretty, that mice will eat through.
I looked at Perkins Home Center yesterday, and the material that I had noted was for rodents isn't sold out. I believe WW has some. So,
Okay,
and it's like $14-14.
okay, well, we have a count on there, so, okay, great, well, I didn't know that. Okay, that's pretty much it for that. Now, I called Scott Bovat to turn the water off after this weekend. And then, as you know, that Stan and I had met with Scott Borthwick from the State Wildlife Control, and he's the one that did the mice remediation in here, and I had him look at like I said last time, I had him look at the church to see what he thought, and he gave me a quote. And I'm gonna read it, it's very quick, so I'll read it to you quick if anybody wants a copy, they're more than happy to have it. And he gave me a quote on what it would take to remove, to seal the building. I'll read it. Bat removal and exclusion. Bats are primarily living in the belfry. There are access points on other areas of the building. We will install one-way exclusion doors on the active locations. We will seal all possible access points. A lift will be required and provided by the town. I'll go into that in a moment. Once bat doors are installed and holes are sealed, we will clean the attic space. Due to the time of the year, bat doors will need to stay on until at least April 15th next year, at which time we will return and inspect the attic if clean, and will remove the one-way doors and seal those holes. A lift also will be required for the removal. And a bat house will be provided if requested, whatever. So what I did was a friend of mine, Tony Pelton, has gone to work in Westover, and he gave me a quote on a lift. $705 a day delivery, which is cheap. So this could be done now, be done later, whatever. We've got one quote, not out to bid, got all that. But the problem has not been resolved. I had quite an argument about it 3 or 4 years ago, about not completely sealing the bats out of there and then spending the money on the bat cleanup. And at that time it was very expensive. It was like $7,000 just for cleanup. So this is a good price. I don't know if we're gonna get what's gonna happen when we do it, but this is a very good price. And did I say the price? It was $5,000. 5,000 plus 705 for the lift, probably twice. But Scott Borthwick did say that if you want to leave the bat houses in, the exclusion, what did he call it? The exclusion doors in, we wouldn't have to remove it the second time, so that's entirely up to us. But the bottom line to the whole thing is, I don't see us doing anything to being able to heat the sanctuary, paint the sanctuary, because if you can't heat it, you can't paint it if you don't remove the bats. And you can't put insulation up there if you want to keep some heat in the place. And a lot of this is subject to funding by the state through the Vermont Arts Council. And that's kind of a discussion I'm gonna have going forward, hopefully this weekend with Leanne Parker, and start the discussion.
Maybe ARPA will pay for some of that.
Oh, don't get me excited. But anyway, that's that. And I believe I am done.
Oh, and you're gonna turn the water off, okay. Yeah.
What is going to turn off? I left a message for Scott.
Okay. I'm gonna add one thing on, I checking with Stan on this, the round schoolhouse sign has been installed. I've looked at it, I've read it, I didn't see any spelling mistakes, it looks like it's hung there permanently. You also reviewed it, and I do believe that today we have an invoice
Invoice, yeah.
from,
Oh, cool.
Yep. It's in there.
it's in there,
I
for
don't really,
I think $700.
okay,
It is.
all right.
So it's pretty straightforward, it just says.
Yep, here we go.
So, the other day, and it's the invoice it says make a new sign for the round schoolhouse and install total $700 for the town of Brookline. So, you have to make a motion or what?
I think.
No, it's just an
I think we
accounts
agree that
payable.
It's just acceptable.
Yeah, it's an invoice.
Yeah, it's just an
I'd like
invoice.
to be, I'll put my name on the line and Stanley, so if you put two select board
Also,
members agree that.
I would approve.
Did you look at it? You said you were
Yeah,
going to.
yeah,
So
I
three
did.
people have looked at it, feel it's okay,
It's fine.
okay,
So we'll approve this is going through and I'm glad that project is.
yes.
Sounds good.
Really good. So-
Maybe you should just approve it so they have something in, for a paper trail so that the amount has been approved.
Motion to
Because the,
approve the
yeah.
invoice for Michael Stats for
Yeah.
the replacement sign on the round schoolhouse.
I'll second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded by Bruce Mello to approve the signage that was done for the historic Brookline Round Schoolhouse. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
I would like permission to send the closure package to PDT and the people who helped us out on this, to let them know that it's done, it's over, and maybe a copy of that invoice to include in that packet with the town making up the difference, of course.
Fabulous, all right.
Is that okay?
Yes, I think that as amended, motion, can we have a vote? All those in favor of approving the work that was done and to finish up the round school and sign documents, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, fabulous. Check that off our list. Now we'll go on to road supervisor Mark. I put in a couple of things, the winter salt account, we said that we set up with American Rock Salt. And we were talking about gravel covering up the yard and any plans that you might have.
Okay. The covering of the gravel. What we ended up doing was, we had stockpiled 3 loads of crushed, 3/4 inch crushed stone for our soft roads in the spring or early spring. And I wanted to get permission to replenish the stockpile. Maybe like 5 dump truck loads. And it's probably not gonna be the whole amount to be dispersed, but it might get us through a couple of emergencies. And hopefully by the time the major mud comes into effect, the gravel pit will open so that we can, if we need more, it's available at the vendors. And then, as we talked about, maybe purchase a large tarp to drape over the stone pile to keep ice, water, rain, snow off of it so it doesn't freeze together.
I saw at Runnings, they had a tarp 50 by, a fairly large tarp for about $130. And it was, pretty heavy grade mill, so I don't know how big an area you need, but they do have some large tops there.
Yeah, so I guess I would look for something.
Would that work for you?
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds like a reasonable size that would definitely shed
Yep.
snow melt and freezing rain, so
Yeah, just anchor it down and leave it there for the winter.
sure, okay. Yeah, that'd be a great setup. Basically, we had a lot of rain in the past couple of weeks, where we went out and monitored the roads, cleaning some culverts out by hand, and it gathered up a lot of leaves that had fallen so that the culverts could continue to function. A lot of dead debris coming down, removed from the roads,
Stan,
and
are you comfortable enough?
Right. I continue to make a list of things that could be done with the machine once we get to that point. And I've gone up on Bennett Road to check some of the repairs that with Archie Clark. Go over paving numbers. And I have a list when we get ready to do that RFP, I've got all the measurements for that. And I'll continue to, I know we're starting to get some potholes and I hate to loosen the road up if we don't have to because anytime you scrape this time of year, it tends to get mucky quick, so. If we need it, I'll go out, but otherwise I'd like to do as little as possible so that it freezes. Over the ground. I believe that's all I have for tonight.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I noticed at the end of Whitney Hill Road, there was a table and a number of chairs that's been sitting there for quite a few days with snow, you know, in the not too distant future. I was just wondering if there was some way that maybe we could pick that up or do something with it, because
Good idea.
if we miss the opportunity, it'll be there for the
Right.
winter.
Yeah, it looked like at one time it was a nice piece of furniture, but it's been rain soaked and
I see that.
I don't feel anybody will pick it up, so I'll gather that. I can bring it
Okay.
to the.
Yeah, maybe there's some place in town or.
Stan has a,
Do we know whose equipment it is?
Do not know.
Remember the house across the street had a couch out in the street.
Yes,
And
that
when we
was.
picked it up, they wanted us to put it back.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm just, same neighborhood, I mean,
I moved that twice. Yeah, no, that's, but it's in the same, but it's in the same location, same
Yeah.
exact location.
I'll put it in the retaining fence and if somebody speaks up, I'll bring it back, but,
trying to save us some work.
but yeah, it's been there long enough, so that.
Yeah,
time-
okay, just, you know, before the snow
And
flies.
I'll talk to you after the meeting to see what you were doing with similar stuff, if it appears, down there.
Yeah,
Right, we can move along here.
Dot,
Yes, sir.
Dot, sorry, actually, I had a couple things.
Yes, go
One
ahead.
is Mark, we need to get together to put together the grants, final grant paperwork for the Parker Road grant, so I can submit that to Alan May to get us the reimbursement.
Do you want to just call me when you're available or set
you
up
gotta
a-
give him your new number.
Right, yeah.
Oh, has your cell phone changed?
My cell phone doesn't work where I'm living.
Oh, it doesn't work at your house. You're
I
saying,
do
yeah.
have a new landline number, so I can.
We'll share that, we'll email it to
Okay.
you.
Yeah, why don't you, somebody email me Mark's. Yeah, so I'll give you a call and we can figure out a time to meet at the town office and try to sort all that
I
out.
mean, my cell phone still works throughout the rest of the
Uh-huh.
town.
Yep.
Receive messages and stuff. It's just, it doesn't come in at my residence.
Okay. Yeah, we can get together and figure that out. The other thing is I forgot to ask to add this, although I'll be brief. So this afternoon, it's road related. So on the salt sand shed this afternoon, I got an email that we have been awarded a little over $73,000 from the municipal mitigation grant that we applied for a few weeks ago for the salt sand shed. So as a reminder, the estimates are for the cost to be considerably more than we estimated it to be a few years ago. So we applied for this grant to hopefully get supplemental funding to try to make up most, if not all, of the difference. Now, the one thing is we did not get as much money as we applied for. So I have an email out to our project manager and the VTrans project manager. We kind of have to put our heads together about whether this is going to be enough money or we had planned, we didn't think we were going to get notified about this grant so quickly. So we had planned on applying for another grant, transportation alternatives grants, which is due, the application deadline's in a few weeks. I'm now not sure if we need to apply for that other grant or not. I'm not sure. But anyway, we have at least gotten a significant amount of additional grant money, which gets us closer, if not all the way hopefully to being able to afford to do the project, I guess. Of course, until we put it out to bid, we still have no idea how much this might cost. So, you know, there's a document that I need to sign, that somebody needs to sign. I believe I am able to sign it and send it back, and I'll CC the treasurer so that Judy adds it to the file, but we just need to, I assume they do this for any of their grants. We just need to commit to doing some basic things to receive the grant. So anyway, that's that.
Thank you, David.
Yep, great. There's a lot of grant work available. I'm gonna take a look at some of the stuff that Mark and I picked up at the Dover meeting and go through it and talk with Mark and see what else we can apply for. So the grants are great.
Yeah, they're big savings to.
It certainly does.
Yeah, over, 5-year period, if you.
Keep adding it up,
Here,
pays for that
save the
excavator.
town a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Any other select board members wish to have a few minutes before we just move on?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm kidding.
Go ahead.
I had been mentioning the opioid settlement and money possibly due the towns of Vermont. I spent a little time on that this afternoon, and it's, as far as our town is concerned, a non-event, that we're not gonna, there's no way we can tap into that. It requires a minimum population of 10,000 people.
Right.
Oh, I didn't read that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting
There's,
that you said that, because I was gonna say, one of the options was that we opt in. And then because we became they have a special name for it. We opt in and then we allow the funding to go to the abatement fund. But I never saw the 10,000.
I'll send you a copy of what I printed out, which is on the Secretary of State's website. There's also
was it in the body of the letter?
there were 2 or 3 different websites for the Secretary of State's office.
Okay.
And so I just happened to pick the one that was the last one. And it indicated that not only did the population need to be, I guess they call them subgroups,
Yes,
Right.
minimum of 10,000. But then we have to demonstrate by programs
Right.
what was adversely affected in our town and how we want to go about applying these monies to correct it. And that's the non-event part as well. So it was a nice thought, but it's not gonna happen.
Oh, see, I read it as if you signed up, then the state of Vermont would at least get our quantity of
Money.
money and apply it towards the abatement fund, but
Could you send me that?
I will.
I'll say we'll swap.
Okay, we'll swap. Thank you, that was great. Okay, moving along, communications, received an appropriation request from Sevitz for $1,590, which is flat funded from last year. The paperwork is in the mail and it came in email, plus there's snail mail. We also received an appropriation request from Senior Solutions for a $50 increase to a donation of $700, which will be in the paperwork as well. I've asked, whenever I get this, I ask the treasurer to put things together into a folder that we'll probably discuss in the beginning of December. Got an email from Peter Barris that his schedule changed due to the WCSU school, that the November 3rd and 17th and December 1st meetings, he'll have to do from video. That's why I announce everybody's names, and Peter, you can always give me a call or send me an email if there's something unclear in the reporting that you have a question about. All right, quickly go over the regular mail. Excuse my. We have something here, Division of Fire Safety Inspection from, it's for Bruce, code 3, so I guess that might be something that needs to be hung up.
I
Okay,
don't know about that, first I've ever seen this.
so this is Seved's letter to Southern Vermont towns that came in. I told you probably has the appropriations in it. There's a letter here from Youth Services asking for an appropriation of $255 that we will put into the appropriations discussion for budget later on. Oh, this is from the electrician, so we have this from the Sufficiency Vermont, Mr. Tanza, let's hold on to this so we can talk to the
Right, that's
electrician
for the
about that.
electrician, yeah.
Department of Health. Oh, the surveyor, I've already started the survey for the Department of Health. Proposed on it. We have a letter here from Sevka asking again for a appropriation of $465 from the town of Newfane. This would go to the treasurer for our setup. We got a new service policy from Coda and Coda in our mail, and Samara left something for me that I'll have to open up.
This would work for the school.
I don't know, but that's something.
Yeah. in your business.
Okay, so pay orders, so payroll warrants, so now we're gonna do that.
Can I hold on to this?
Yes, make a copy of it.
Okay. And as far as this inspection report, I got an email from Judy saying this was for me. So,
The building inspector, I guess, or building commissioner.
Yeah.
Did they replace the extinguishers in the building?
I have no
They
idea.
have to
It's-
recharge them periodically, it's every 2
They
weeks.
came, spent $45.
That's more, no, there's a bigger bill in here for $45, so
Yeah, but
in the appropriate, in the,
yeah, I
let's
saw,
continue on, all right.
I saw that.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve payroll check warrant number 2022-17 dated October 25th, 2021 for the amount of $2,286.49. May I have a second?
Second,
Seconded by Stan Noga. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2022-17 for $2,286.49 signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, I'll pass this around for people to sign. Next is the accounts payable warrant. Here it is. Accounts payable warrant. Apologies, David, from Judy for not getting it emailed out. I did print copies for the staff members here. This is, I'd like to make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 2022-18 dated November 3rd, 2021 for the amount of $3,848.68. May I have a second?
Second,
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? I have a question. Guy, maybe you can answer this. What is a payroll fee? $58.70. It shows up every month and I was just
That's the fee that the company that handles our payroll charges us. It's a percentage of the amount of money that's actually sent out in checks. It's a fee that the payroll company levies against us for
the service. they
the
provide.
services, yes.
Because I know that Judy can do the checks here in
Right.
town, so I wasn't sure what the payroll.
No, that's the payroll checks. Judy doing the checks for accounts payable is a different thing. The payroll checks that we all get, like I get, Mark gets, you will get one a year. That's what those payroll fees are.
Okay, I got you. All right, no other discussion about this? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant 2022-18 dated November 3rd, 2021 in the amount of $3,848.68 signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Any abstentions?
Yeah, I'll abstain.
Okay, David's gonna abstain. So the motion passes. I will pass this around for you to sign.
I've got a question, probably don't know an answer to it, maybe Guy does. We got a bill from Code 3 for $45.
Yes,
It's like 3 weeks ago, whatever it was.
Right.
Now we're getting one for $300.
one is a statement, one was the, you know, when he was actually here, he sent, he wrote up a bill for it. And that next bill that came in was a duplicate of the services that he did for the $45. Is that the one you're talking about?
No.
Then there's another one that he did an inspection on the building itself, where you have to put a sticker in
Okay,
for the state fire marshal requires a sticker that shows that the building has been inspected and passed and meets all the criteria
so
for
we would have to
inspection.
do that whether that was a daycare, school or a town office?
Yep, and we have to have it for the state,
Okay,
for our office also,
and how often is that done?
once a year for the state inspection.
It looks like the $387 one
Yeah.
is for the certification
Yeah.
inspection of the fire alarm system.
Right.
Yeah.
$45 usually is the cost to recharge a
The-
extinguisher.
Right.
Because I have done that previously in other
Okay.
towns.
Yeah, they have to fix a sticker right on the equipment.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to set the agenda for the special budget meeting, which will be held on Wednesday, November 10th at 6:30 here at Town Hall. Let's decide on which funds will be discussed at this budget meeting.
We have everything available that we can do.
It appears we do. Samara sent a lot of stuff.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she
So I
sent the
would
end of the
suggest
year.
that we not do appropriations or highway, but we could do pretty much
Everything
most
else.
everything else. Is that all right with
That
that?
sounds fine.
So everybody review that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will set up the agenda for that, not appropriations, not highway, but the other funds.
That's one of the things, yeah.
Okay, set an agenda for the second special budget meeting, I don't know if we're gonna have another special, I would like to do appropriations during a regular meeting at some point when we get it all together. But we might need to have a special meeting for highway to review over. We don't have to set that tonight, we can discuss it at another time, but let's see how we go to get through next week at this time.
Otherwise,
Okay, the regular meeting for Wednesday, November 17th, I have that we need to talk about road supervisor job description, the alternate for DV fiber appointment, we appoint the regional emergency management coordinator. I will talk to Johnny Swing and we'll also review the Clear Road needed additional maintenance and any other items that come to us, we'll discuss at that time. Okay? All right, at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting. May I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, I made a motion, Bruce seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning this evening's meeting, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned, it is 8:55, sorry people.
Stop the recording.
I'm gonna move the fact TV out and then.
Does anybody oppose?
Yeah,
that?
just stop the recording and put Fact TV into the waiting room.
Okay, I'm gonna stop recording
Recording stopped.
and move fact TV.
Into the waiting room.
I don't think I set up a waiting room. this time.
There's an option there, you can move them.
Hold on.
Put in
Waiting room.